we're going to look at the Bedfordshire killer. So this was a terrible, they're all terrible things, aren't they? But some cases definitely are more shocking than others. And I think you can't get any more shocking than a husband and father, murdering his whole family. So this is the poor family, his wife and their two daughters, up in the corner there. They were found dead in a $1 million mansion in Bedfordshire. And then it turned out husband and father, he had fled. He was caught in South Africa. So I'm going to see if I can get this video. I never have any luck with videos, but let's see. So he's appeared in court in South Africa. He was found in South Africa, in Johannesburg. He had bought a weapon and apparently was planning on killing himself. And there's sort of part of me that thinks, oh God, they should have just let him do it, because he is not a nice person, of course, horrible person. But of course, if he would have killed himself, that's too easy, isn't it? Because he deserves to be brought back to Britain, made to face trial, made to face up to what he's done. That's an easy escape, isn't it, to kill himself? Anyway, it turns out that apparently he and his wife, let me just get up all their names so that I get their names right. I don't mean his name, I don't care about his name, but his family's name. It's so hard to find the names of the victims. It's quite sad, isn't it, really? You know what? They should be the first names, really, shouldn't they, that are up there when it's an article talking about this. Anyway, it's thought that he and his wife were on the verge of divorce. Well, you know that the most dangerous time for a woman or a man, I suppose, for any partner, just coming up with it. Hang on, sorry, it's my fault. I'll do it wrong. They're breaking up now. Seems like, from what we can gather, is ridiculous. So the victims that you should be able to see up in the corner there is Zandile Tshuma, 42, that's the wife, and her daughters Natalie, 15, and Nala, who was only 5 years old. And this twonk is obviously he's angry with his wife because she wanted to leave him. Apparently he told a friend that he couldn't live without her. Well, why didn't he just take himself off and do something to himself? Why has he had to kill her and also the two children? Hi, Darren. How dare he? His life is his to do what he wants. If he wanted to kill himself because he couldn't live without Zandile anymore, well, fine. But, to the spite and it's just like one of those, well, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you type things, isn't it? He's probably going to come out with some mental health defense or temporary insanity or whatever. So this family, this wife and her two daughters, they were bludgeoned to death in this massive mansion in Bedfordshire. And then this twonk, he just skipped the country then, and he was caught on CCTV, wasn't he? in at Heathrow Airport. I might have that photo actually. So this was him leaving Heathrow, but he just left them there in the house as well. He didn't phone any authorities to say to go and get them or whatever. Sorry, I just had to put your message in there, David, because YouTube had removed it. Yeah, he didn't phone the police to say their bodies were just lying there. I mean, there's always, how did he even know that they were dead? There might have been, just like with Anne Widdecombe, because I feel this with Anne. Was there a chance? I have to just put your message back in there, Kelly. Was there a chance that they were still alive when he left? Did he just leave them there to die? I think that sometimes about Anne as well. How did the guy know that she actually was dead? No, if he would have called for help, or at least anonymously, maybe even phone the authorities, maybe there would have been a chance. But this one is worse, in my opinion, because this guy, he was the father of these children. He was their father. How could he? How could he kill his own children? Just how could he do it? Chase them down with I don't know what he killed them with, but no, just disgusting, isn't it?
Ndodana Mkhanyisi Tshuma cut a lonely figure in the dock as he made his first court appearance here at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. He's being charged with possession of an unlicensed firearm. The UK and South Africa have an existing extradition treaty which would enable the 45-year-old to answer to triple murder charges in a British court. But if convicted on firearm and ammunition charges, South African authorities will then need to decide if they want to stall the extradition or agree to waive or even suspend the charges to fast-track his surrender to the UK, given the severity of the charges he's facing. He'll be back in court on the 22nd of July.
So he's
Ndodana Mkhanyisi Tshuma cut a lonely figure in the dock as he made his first court appearance here at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. He's being charged with possession of an unlicensed firearm. The UK and South Africa have an existing extradition treaty which would enable the 45-year-old to answer to triple murder charges in a British court. But if convicted on firearm and ammunition charges, South African authorities will then need to decide if they want to stall the extradition or agree to waive or even suspend the charges to fast-track his surrender to the UK, given the severity of the charges he's facing. He'll be back in court on the 22nd of July.
So, yeah, so because he's got the firearms charge, so he definitely bought a gun while he was there. But the thing is, how do we know that he bought a gun to kill himself? Maybe he was going off to kill his family, his family in that he's got in Zimbabwe. Maybe he was going to go on a shooting rampage around a shopping centre. Anyway, to be honest, the South African police have done brilliantly. They arrested him. They tracked him down very quickly. So whether they were given information or whether they tracked him with electronic device, I mean, we don't know all the details of how they tracked him down. But track him down they did. And they tracked him down carrying this illegal weapon that he bought. Now, whether he was going to kill himself or killed another load of people, we'll probably never know. Only he knows that, and God knows that, doesn't it? But yeah, I think you're right, David. I think they'll waive that case. They just want him back to Britain so that he can face the charges of this terrible thing that he did to his own family. I'm glad he hasn't managed to kill himself, because he deserves to have to face her family, his own family. I mean, if that was my son, I'm sure you'd be the same, all of you out there, if it was your son. You couldn't stick up for a person that had murdered your grandchildren, could you? Even if you didn't really care about his wife, but to me, I don't see how that could be either, because his family will definitely have had some sort of relationship with his wife over the years that they've been married. But even if you didn't care about her, surely you would care about your own grandchildren. So, you know, I'm glad he's going back, and I hope he has to face everyone. I hope it's miserable. Do you see him in his puffer jacket? Just like, I don't know why that really annoyed me. It's the sort of normality of it, isn't it? You know, there he is wandering around in his puffer jacket, asking the guy in the court, "Oh, do I go this way or what?" And after what he's done, what? I hope they are haunting him every night when he closes his eyes and he tries to go to sleep. I hope that the last thing he sees are his children's faces just before he bludgeoned them to death. And I hope he's going through hell because of it. But I tell you, there's more hell waiting for him on the, you know, once he departs this world. In fact, where's my hell emoji? This is where he's going. As sure as anything, he's going to hell. And whether he goes soon or, you know, whether he goes soon, he manages to delete himself in some way, or whether he ends up serving a life sentence, you know, he's going. You know, David, I don't think he'll get a whole life tariff, because for a whole life tariff, there has to be an SEX motive. And hopefully, I doubt if there was an SEX motive in this case. So I don't think he'll get a whole life tariff. But he will get a big sentence. He's got to get over 30 years, surely. You know, I know UK sentences are pretty crapo, really. You know, we got a nice surprise with Preston Davies' adoptive dad, getting that whole life tariff, but that, of course, because there was an SEX motive involved in it. So I think that, you know, it may do, but whole life tariffs, normally they have to fit certain criteria, and one of them is that there has to be some, you know, if it's against children especially. So yeah, and that's the criteria for a whole life tariff. But he's going to get like 3 life sentences, isn't he? Which surely has got to add up to over 30 years. Now, when you think of Irfan Sharif, Sarah Sharif's father, he got 33 years, didn't he? Again, he didn't get a whole life tariff because there was no SEX motive, even though it was such cruelty. That's the criteria. So I doubt if it'd be whole life, but you never know. It's about time they. Oh, someone's sending me videos here. It's about time, isn't it, that sentences got more in the UK. To me, it's honestly, some of the cases that I've watched recently, it's like 16 years. Somebody who commits a murder, 16 years. They say, "Oh, you're sentenced for life, minimum of 16 years." You're like, what? 16 years? Is that all a life is worth? So, you know, if they get in the UK, over 30 years is a good sentence, isn't it? So, yeah. Yeah, 33 years, and hopefully the first of many tuna tinlets. Yeah, because people don't like child killers in prison, do they? So, you know, even the horrible people that are in prison, some of them are pretty horrible themselves. Like the ones that have killed some of the PDFs recently. They're not too clever themselves, these men. They're not heroes, you know. I mean, they're not. They're pretty lousy themselves. They'll have murdered somebody, but not a child, that's all. So I suppose. Okay, so that's just, I just wanted to update you on that. So it's been adjourned and it'll be heard again, but he's coming back to face the music, no doubt. If he makes it through prison, through the, you know, or if he doesn't find some way to do something to himself, he's definitely heading back to the UK to face the music. But again, as we were saying yesterday, you know, doesn't bring these Doesn't bring these lovely people back. Look at their smiles and everything. It's just heartbreaking. They're never coming back. Those girls are not going to grow up. All because Zandile, she was sick of his control and coercive control behaviour, apparently, and she just wanted freedom. And she was probably living in that. She'd probably been advised by her lawyer to stay in the house. You know, this is something that, you know, my advice, forget what your lawyer says. Forget about financial things, because nothing, you can never buy your life back or the life of your children. If you're splitting up from someone who is coercive, because of coercive control and domestic violence, you don't stay in the same house. If you've got any options whatsoever, get out of that house, go somewhere where they don't know where you are, because this is such a dangerous time. When a relationship is breaking down, that is, you know, a man like this, he wasn't having it. You know what I mean? I've been through it. I know what it's like. It's horrible. It's horrible to. I mean, I was lucky. I didn't have children at the time. I was pregnant, though. You know, so I could move around and move where my stalker could not find me. I know I wouldn't be here now if he would have found me. He was looking for me anyway. This is, but you know, in a lot of divorce cases, the advice from the lawyer is to stay in the house, isn't it? But I'm sorry, my advice would be no, don't stay in the house. No matter what money is at stake, it's not about money. Money won't bring back your life or your children's life. Just get away and try and get somewhere where they don't know where you are, because you are in so much danger, really, really, with a man like this. And even if he'd never shown any violence before, you know, my partner had never been violent before, you know, but they had shown what they call now coercive control, this controlling behaviour, making you feel bad about going out with your friends, getting jealous of everyone. You know, when you look back, can't see it sometimes at the time. You just think it's because, oh, they really love me, you know, they really love me, they really care about me. No, no, no. If somebody really loves you, really cares about you, they don't mind you going out with your friends because they trust you. You know, they don't mind you having fun, going to the gym. You know, I had a partner who used to turn up everywhere. So I'd be at circuit training at the gym and then suddenly look up and he'd be sat there watching. You know, this is what they do, but that's not violence. He never did any violence towards me. And he'd turn up at work when I was working on the tow at race courses. We'd be sat in the pub after work and he'd walk in through the door. We've driven miles to get there to see check up on what I'm up to. So this is what I'm talking about. If somebody's doing that, doesn't matter if they're violent or not, somebody's showing signs of controlling you in any way, shape or form, or checking up on you. You know, my partner used to go through the bins to see what I'd thrown away. He read my diary, but I couldn't keep a diary. There was nothing that he would not. He would search the house from top to bottom when I wasn't there to find anything he could that might prove I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing, which I wasn't. You know, but in the end, that sort of behaviour forces you. In the end, you do. I didn't. Anyway, it's a long story. It's in my book. Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, if you want to know more about that. But what I'm trying to say is, and I would say it to anybody, do not stay in the same house as the person that you're divorcing, even if they've never shown any signs of violence before, if they're a controlling type. Personally, I would say not with anyone, because sometimes there are no signs. You know, people, sometimes you'll look back and there'll be signs, but quite often there is no signs. Somebody just breaks, you know. So my advice would definitely be get away somewhere, preferably where they don't know where you are, just in case, especially if you've got children, really. So this poor woman and these lovely girls, you know, as you say, David, such a beautiful family. Look at the smiles, living in a beautiful house, you know, living the dream, all that. What is that stupid expression, living the dream? I hate that expression. You know, people say it when you live in Spain or if you live abroad or whatever. Oh, yeah, living the dream. It's just life. It might be life in a nicer setting, but you have all the same problems. There's no such thing as living the dream. You know, your life, whatever it is 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 probably somebody else's dream. But you know, wherever you live, just live because you live near the beach doesn't mean say you haven't got any problems. You know that you can't get ill, or you can't have financial problems, or you can't have relationship problems. There is no such. But you would look at this family, look at them all smiley, the beautiful house they lived in. Yeah, living the dream, and look how it ended. Terrible, awful. So we look forward to him coming back to the UK and getting his just desserts, at least in this life, won't we? Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Well, you know, because you live away from where you grew up. It's hard. There's some things that are nice about it, living away from home. But like say, Miss Family, I mean, look now that those messages that were coming through that I'm going to look at in a moment. So this is my sister who died last week. You know, her niece is trying to organise the funeral and all that. I can't go to the funeral because I have to take my son to work every day. So I'm trying to see if I can attend it virtually. So these are the things. These are you pay, you forfeit some things for the good things about other things, and then you sort of get stuck there. It's hard to explain, you know. Especially if you have children, then they start going to school and this, that, and the other. It's hard to uproot them, you know. And but there'll always be things you miss about where you come from, and things you like about where you are. You know that there is no perfect life, but the worst thing you miss, of course, is your family and being close to your family when things happen like bereavement, etc. You know, I've felt, you know, completely isolated after my sister died because I'm just miles away from it all. You haven't even got your family to go over memories with, and you know, that's part of what you do when you're grieving, isn't it? You all get together and you're crying one minute, then you're laughing the next, remembering daft things that happened, and then you're crying because you realise that they've gone and you're not going to see them again. You know, but all those things, they're part of the grieving process. But when you live away from that, you don't get that. It's really weird feeling. Sometimes you almost forget they're dead because it doesn't affect your daily life because you weren't living there. So it's like, oh God, your sister died. You know, then suddenly it all comes back to you again, and you go through it all again. But you're on your own going through it because you've got nobody to talk to about it. Because most of the people, in fact, all the people I know here in Spain, they didn't even know my sister. You know, they didn't even know her. I've got a few friends that knew her, that met her at some point, because I haven't lived in Manchester for years. I've been back and seen her and that, but you know, for my actual friends, you know, they don't know her, so I can't talk to them about her really because they don't have memories of her. You know, like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, whereas if your friends had met your loved one who died, then you'd be able to say, oh, remember when your mum did this, or remember when your sister did that. You know, you don't have that when you've lived away because your friends don't even know them. So yeah, it does feel like being torn into. Yeah, it does feel like being torn into. It's a very, and not only for funerals but for weddings and things like that, you know, because there's an expense involved in going back for a wedding, or you know, and then it depends what's going on in your work life and that. At the moment, it's not so much my work life, but I have to get my son to work. So you know, 6 days a week, 2 hours driving. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? You know, you can get, I can normally get someone maybe to take him when it's daytime, but nobody wants to go at 12, midnight and pick someone up half an hour away through a really creepy road that you have to drive up. So anyway, as I say, yeah, you do feel like you're torn in two. You understand it, Kelly. It's a very strange feeling. You wish you could just have all the best of all the lives in one, don't you? But that's impossible. There's things I love about living in Spain, and there's things that I miss so much about living in the UK. And mainly it's, you know, just the ease of being, you can't just go and see for the afternoon, you know, just go and have lunch. So what you end up doing is either you have to go there and stay for a week at least, and then you've got to find somewhere to stay. You might be sleeping on the sofa in someone's house or whatever, or they come to you, and then it's quite, you know, as much as you love your family, you don't necessarily want them staying in your house for a week because that's quite difficult. So, but it's not like just going for a couple of hours. So anyway, that's all the downside of living away from home. And yeah, especially when things happen, like losing my sister, this is hard because there's no one to talk to about it.